I really enjoyed all the health sprints. And I learned a ton from it as well. Hearing from other professionals in the field who are looking at different aspects of this was extremely helpful to me. And I will be reaching out to some of these fellow professionals in the future so that I can help do better things at the Honor Foundation as well. Before we head into our final panel, I want to once again thank SOF Tact Solutions for supporting this event as a SOF Team Room sponsor. Their website and more information about them is available under the sponsors tab. So please go check them out. We will conclude this evening with a recap session that brings together everyone from the day so far to share some of their biggest takeaways. And that will be followed briefly by some closing remarks from Ms. Lindsay Snook from the Military Special Operations Family Collaborative. But first, the panel. Dr. Free, over to you, sir.
So in terms of just wanting to kind of keep everybody on their toes, what I thought we could do, and I have some approval for this, is take turns asking each other some questions. So I'll start, and then I'm going to hand it off to the person I asked the question of. So Tom, I'm gonna focus this question to you, but it's something everybody could be thinking about. It seems like we have a large, significant challenge here for the community, as a community. And it seems like we agree there are some very significant and complex medical, psychological, social challenges that are faced by operators and their families. So we're talking about a complex set of interrelated problems, and the complexity of it, I think, is something that we have to be mindful of, and the fact that we don't have clear scientific awareness of how to treat each of the individual conditions. And then on top of that, it seems like this fragmentation of care is part of the problem. So when we start talking about different foundations, different nonprofits, different governmental agencies and organizations, different programs within VA, different programs within DoD, how does an operator make sense of this? It just seems like there's a lot of room here to get completely overwhelmed and confused. And so, Tom, you and I have met on several occasions throughout the last several years in discussions about this sort of problem. So what kind of thoughts do you have on where we might go? And would it be useful for us as a group to start working together to kind of create a common set of resources and referral sources? Over.
Yeah, I know much of it's already been said as far as like doing it together, collaborating every piece of it. The one thing that always comes up that I've seen is that, especially, obviously my focus is, lack of better words, I say it with passion in my heart because I'm one of them, is the island of broken toys, you know. So the ones, you know, I handle everybody that comes off the rails, and, you know, I mean, so that's my subject matter expertise and sweet spot. And so I just speak within that is that, you know, the majority of that kind of stuff that we always hear, like, hey, if you need something, let me know. If you need something, let me know. Well, all the selections that I went through, they guarantee a lot of things. You know, if you pass it, you know, it equals this profile. And two main things that it means is that I'll never quit, and then the second thing is I'll never ask for help. So when you tell me that if I need help, let you know, well, I've already guaranteed that's not happened. So it's really a changing of the narrative is what. When needed, you know, as far as it's up to those that are in better health to reach out to those that are not. And we all know who they are within our own community, within our own friends. We have that list of folks of who it is. So without talking too much about it, that's, if I had to pick one thing that on the receiving end of it, on the operator side of the house, is like, hey, you have to be the one that reaches out to them. You know, because a lot of times it just won't happen the other way. And then collectively, I think this is part of how we do that. You know, we just keep bringing everyone together. It's not rocket science, you know, and even though we're even though we're trying to pick different words, and you really smart guys, are trying to really diagnose and what it is, but it all comes down to it's war. War's not new. It's been around for a long time. A lot of the same things. We have to have the research and we have to have all the stuff that everybody does. But the biggest thing, and it's my passion, is treatment. I've been diagnosed, I've been questioned, can fill out pretty much any questionnaire and qualify for something. That's why you call it the operator syndrome. I mean, it's a lot of stuff and all those other words, but I just really go back to like, how are we taking care of our people, and that's tough. That's tough, as everyone in here knows. Some huge respect for everyone and everything that you're doing, especially those that are still in the fight and the active duty piece. It's yeah, I'll keep rambling. I'm just super excited. I love everything that we're doing and all the progress that has been made, active duty and outside. I mean, it's a long time to put, it takes decades to push the needle, but we're doing it. And I'm just grateful to be a part of this group. You're muted, Chris.
Apologies. Tom, would you like to put one of the other panelists on the spot with a question? Or would you like me to do that?
I'll do it. I'll be
Go for
it. Tommy, because he's got to be a great guy with a name like that. Is what are the, if you had to pick one thing that you're finding out that is really derailing the guys and gals, coming out, what would it be?
Time. They're waiting too late to focus on their transition. And with that time, they're making suboptimal decisions, which leads to a suboptimal transition. The vast majority of that I would offer is probably self-inflicted gunshot wound. But there are a lot of folks, that are still being deployed. They're getting out after 30 years and they're deployed until 6 months out. And, the longer you're in, the more time you need to prepare. Right. So I had a break of service when I was an E5 coming out of the Ranger Regiment that I didn't need as much time, frankly. Coming out after 30 years, you need time because it is a life-changing event and you got to go through the process. So for everyone out there, you can control some of this, or you can control a lot of it because you can plan for it at each of those stages of your life. Every time, what I've told the units when I've talked to them is, I always had to talk to service members, both when I was an enlisted and an NCO and as an officer, to counsel them at reenlistment time. You should be talked to about transitioning too, the pros and cons and preparation. And if you approach that in the same framework for yourself, every time you're like, okay, I'm up for promotion to 05 or E9 or whatever it is, if I don't get selected for command or whatever it is, what's my kind of pathway and what's going to give me purpose and passion. And I think if people build it in that way, it'll help out. But every person that's come to us and say, I'm getting out in 3 months and I've done nothing, or 6 months, it is suboptimal every single time. So tyranny of time. And it's like everything else. So really focus on it. And with time, you can solve all those other problems, medical, financial, all those things, but you can't get it back. We tell people it's a shot clock, just like a game. You drop your retirement paperwork. I mean, it's like pick up your phone and set one of those little apps on there, like countdown. And every time somebody's like, oh, I'll get to it in 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, well, that's, 278 days left, and then it's 260. And I think if people approach it like that, they'll be a little bit more purposeful and focused, but make sure you're doing it with the time. Halsey, is that kind of what you're seeing on your side of the house?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would add to that is I think there's space in there for the commands to get almost intrusive in some ways and say, we should probably back off a little bit here and not deploy you, with 2 weeks left. We had a couple guys, downrange at a SOF or in a jock somewhere dialing in over Zoom because they would get back from that deployment. They had 2 weeks to get out. So it would be a great opportunity if there's a little more space built in there. And the guys, gals transitioning out of SOF that I see the most successful are the ones that have command representation that's intrusive in the other direction, where they're beating them up every day. What are you doing? What have you gotten done? Have you talked to this organization? Have you talked to the Care Coalition? Why not? I'll walk you down there myself. And those gentlemen, those ladies who are coming out of SOF seem to be doing the best.
If I could bomb in real quick, it's kind of hard to see, but I have Representative Mikey Sherrill from the House Armed Services Committee on my FaceTime because she couldn't get logged in. But I wanted her to hear all this great stuff that you guys are doing. And Rep Sherrill and I have spent a good chunk of today and many days kind of talking about moral injury and different ways that the House Armed Services Committee can continue to help and support our special operations forces and some of the things that we both expect of them. And I'm trying to make sure I don't wash her out for you guys. It's the best I can do for you. But I know it's probably impossible to hear. Rep Sherrill, I know you can hear us okay. For this group, and just to kind of just introduce you real quick, I just want to let you know we have about probably 30 or 40 different helping organizations here that are all looking at ways to address neurocognitive and moral injury, as well as the psychological traumas and physical injuries that special operations forces. And this just ties directly with the conversations that you and I have had today. It probably isn't going to work, but ma'am, I wanted to see if you wanted to say anything to the agencies at all.
I want to say I've heard that you recorded this. I would love to hear because Greg was saying that there was a lot of great information here, and certainly this will be a continuing conversation. I know Greg is leaving active duty, but he won't be going too far. I still have his cell phone, so I really do want to continuing to hear how we can best support so many people. Really, as I've said to Greg several times, I just feel like we've been really fighting these last few decades of war on the backs of our special operators, and how we can make sure that now people have the support that they at this time as they return to their families and their homes. So look forward to hearing all about it. And please, I am a member from the 11th District of New Jersey. I sit on the House Armed Services Committee. Please feel free to reach out to me if there's more you want to share. And otherwise, I hope to hear from all of you via this organization, this program you put together. So thanks.
Ma'am, I know you're doing votes on the House floor, so we'll let you get back to work on that one. But I want to say thank you for everything you continue to do for us. So. All right, thanks, ma'am. Appreciate it.
So, Chief.
Okay, so as you can see, Rep Sherrill and really all the members of the House Armed Services Committee, Republican and Democrat alike, they do so much for us. And I'm telling you, across the board to the support agencies, they're asking what more can we do? So these conversations and how we can work to change laws to make sure that we're reaching forward and back veterans, active duty, spouses, family members. This is where my focus is right now. And I never pass up the opportunity to bring them in on this. So thanks for letting me bomb in on that part.
Well, Chief, maybe we can give you the last word here. We have 3 minutes left on our shot clock here for today. Maybe the last word for you would be just thoughts on key takeaways from the last 2 hours.
You know, what I've learned is there are so many people willing and trying to help, right? And it's a legitimate need. And seeing some of the spouses' questions in the comments of hey, how can we help, or how can we as spouses do this? So how do we bring all this together? You know, to Lindsay and Kaylee's point of the military special operations family collaborative, this is not only our SOF families, but this is also our physical families that often deal with the residual effects of all these things, like Eric brings post-transition. So how do we prep the environment on this end to ease some of those things? And it's all of you that are here on this panel that'll help us do that. And it's my responsibility, right? My responsibility while I'm in this seat to help cement and bring some of these things together to make sure that we're supporting. So that's where I'm at. You have my commitment. Again, reach out to me. Tell me how I can help. And again, I'll rally what we can to bring all these things together. Thanks for that.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any in the chat box. Does anybody, any on the panel want to say anything else or ask another question of somebody else on the panel?
I'd like to make a comment if I could, Dr. Free.
Please.
And I think it's kind of been referenced, and it's a hard one. We need mental health support, right? And why do I say that? I will tell you, I had to ask for help. I had to take a knee, and I was put into a dark corner. I had 2 operators commit suicide in 2019, 2 folks that were close to me. And I was preparing to retire, and it slammed me into a wall. And it's the first time I openly asked for help, all the way that I didn't care about my clearance. I cared about my family and what they saw me and the command go through, because we lost 2 guys. And immediately, just because it was just another member that was also transitioning, and he was going through mental health support with a program that was free to service members. And till today, a year and a half later, I'm still using them. And because once you retire and once you get that job, as Tommy mentioned, and all the panel members, and you're working through all of this, get well plan, it's really when some of this stuff starts kicking in, especially the moral injuries, right? You start, it's not going to happen. You're not going to know what's wrong with you as you're transitioning. It's going to come a year later. And some of these were even at the marital, right? Because you're going to start having these things flare up, that it's you and your spouse, and you want to be down on your knees. It's when your wife is going, yeah, I'm done with you. That mental health piece of it is also a framework and a bridge that helped me go get my SGBs, helped me go get my sleep therapy, helped me, because I can come back and talk to someone and say, hey, guess what? I just had 2 needles stuck in my neck, or I've got to go back for my CPAP machine, or maybe I got to go visit Tom at the ranch, or I've got to go do psychedelics. But it's that talk therapy that was the base. And the key is my wife's going, you're finally talking to her shrink. You're finally getting mental. You're not the superhero anymore. You're not the special operator. No, you're a human now, and you're in therapy. And that therapy has even allowed me to say, hey, honey, do you need therapy? My therapist says that you need it, and my son needs it. And I can't go get this fancy new job or move across the world somewhere if we're not whole as a family, and I'm not on a get well plan. So to wrap that up, I think that mental health and folks seeking it as part of their transition and continuing it through the transition, that's my number 1 advice. And as Tom has mentioned, we reach out to our, we don't have team rooms anymore. This is the closest that we have to our team rooms. We know who's on that list that we should be looking after. And then examples, that's what I'll close that out. I think, Tom Spooner, Tom Satterley, Chris Von Sant, some of these guys who are out there openly talking vulnerabilities as a strength, operators or Marines or Raiders who've done it before, who are passionate about sharing. That's how guys who are transitioning should be latching on to one of these examples and going, I just heard how Tom went and he got substance abuse help, or this guy got SGB, because that's how we grew up in the military, is having a military example. And now we can have them post-retirement.
Thank you, Eric. That's beautiful. I really appreciate you sharing all of that. And I think maybe as my last comment, I'll just say one of the problems with operator syndrome or high allostatic load is there are so many parts to it, so many pieces to it, and it's complicated. That's the bad news. But the good news is you can almost start at any one of those pieces, and you're going to have a powerful effect on the other pieces. So if you get sober, there's going to be ripple effects and benefits, and you're going to be talking to somebody and other people who are getting help with other parts of their life. If you go to mental health, which I don't really separate from getting sober, those go together. But if you go to SGB or a full-on TBI clinic, you're going to, just starting that process, you're going to find something that's useful to you that will then lead you to something else that's useful, which will then lead you to something else being useful. All right, thank you so much. And
Free, just one comment here.
yeah, please.
Something was said that I think is so powerful is that people look to those to the left and right of them and looking for those who are just like me and those natural community leaders that have experienced it, the broken toys, as Tom had mentioned, those who raised their hands, sought help, got better. And those peer leaders, I think highlighting their stories, their experiences, especially if it fit the bill for this operator syndrome or high allostatic load, finding those individuals, especially those who transition successfully after navigating it and getting it treated well, or those who are still active duty that were able to overcome it, get the care that they needed, despite what the first answers and first responses were, navigating those hard conversations, getting the help they needed, getting better, and either being retained for further service or transitioning in as a better version of themselves. I think we really got to seek out those individuals, highlight their stories, elevate their experience, and find out what works, because others will listen to them. Thanks for the opportunity to join. Over.
Right on, right on. Thank you. We've gone a little bit over our time. Lindsay, can I turn it over to you now, or do I give it back to Eric?
I think Halti has a few more.
Halti, sorry.
Yeah, just a few more comments. No problem. No problem at all. Chief Smith, with all the things that you have going on, you spent a lot of time with us here tonight, and you're obviously passionate and leading. And to the rest of the panelists, thank you so much for everything that you're doing for the community. Everyone that I cannot see right now that is in the Zoom world, who spent their night or their evening or part of their afternoon with us, with all the other things going on in the busy modern American life. You could have been a lot of other places, but you decided to spend some time here with us tonight. So genuinely, from everyone on the panel, thank you very much. I was honored to be here tonight, just as a speaker myself, and get to play MC and hopefully contribute a little bit. This is really important and not the type of thing you would have seen happen in the community even a few years ago. But it's important to start having these conversations. And again, I'm honored to be here, and I was inspired, honestly, by seeing so many other organizations rallying around the cause. We all want to do the same mission in a different way, and let's take care of our operators. Our last speaker tonight is Lynn Snook from the Military Special Operations Collaborative. Lindsay, over to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for being part of our team room tonight. I'm Lindsay Snook, and I'm the Operations Director at the Military Special Operations Family Collaborative, one of the organizations hosting this SOF Team Room, along with the Global SOF Foundation. First, I have to echo Halti and thank General Slife and Chief Smith for joining us tonight. It sends a really strong message to the community when leaders at the highest levels across SOF make time in their busy schedules to engage the community. We really appreciate you sharing your perspectives. Thank you so much. Halti, you've been a fantastic master of ceremonies. Thank you for smoothly facilitating the SOF Team Room. You lead the SOF community in the transition conversation every day, and we're honored you joined the team room tonight. Dr. Free, thank you for once again expertly moderating the opening and closing panel conversations. Thank you also for your courageous work on SOF well-being and performance, and your continued persistence to help close those systemic gaps in care for this community. Our sprint leaders, Tom Spooner, Dr. Free again, Dr. Stepanenko, Dr. LeMay, and Tommy Stoner, you know the on-the-ground needs. You make a positive impact and save lives every day. These candid conversations are only possible because you earn the community's trust daily with the work you do to make it stronger and healthier. My MSOF teammate, Eric, your experience as an operator has clearly prepared you for this work, as you expertly plucked questions from the chat and transitioned from speaker to speaker during the sprints like a multitasking pro. We also couldn't have done this event without our SOF team sponsors at SOF Tax Solutions. We really appreciate MA and her team. Also, huge thanks to all the people behind the scenes at Global SOF Foundation and MSOF who put in the work to make the SOF Team Room a successful program. Because of the work you do each day, new resources are making their way into our community and to the units. Personally, I was so pleased to see many spouses in the audience during the health sprints. SOF families are the strong pillar that is absolutely necessary for our community to thrive and overcome the persistent challenges of this lifestyle. It's through conversations like tonight that we better care for each other, get resources into the hands of people who need them, and chart the course forward for a healthy community and a strong SOF legacy. As you round out your night tonight, please mark your calendars for June 20th for our follow-on event to tonight's SOF Health Sprint on the effects of high allostatic load and operator syndrome. The SOF Team Room is designed to take on hard topics and get the conversation started, but sometimes these topics need more than 20 minutes, clearly. A registration link for the deep dive will be sent out via email and shared across our social media. Additionally, we'll be sending out a short 7-question survey for you to share your feedback on the Team Room. We want to know what had the biggest impact on you. Did you have any tech troubles accessing the event? What topics do you want to see addressed in future events? In fact, we changed the format of the health sprints tonight based on previous surveys. So we really do listen to your feedback and appreciate the time you take to send it in. This concludes this edition of the SOF Team Room, and we'll be back to continue the conversation in June at the deep dive and in August for another SOF Team Room. Thank you for joining us, and good night.